Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Peace, greetings, Rahubat Hotep to the family. So we back at it again, 2015 November. So everybody's about to fill their body up with a whole bunch of who knows what. But for the health community, we want to bring in the alternative. We have a special guest today. My sister Jaha is in the house. We're going to be going through some of her unique herbal remedies and so forth. And, we just basically want to set the pace for the upcoming season for our people and let them know that what we have available to them and that the sister has a lot of remedies and is willing to share and help our people get healthier and, definitely become better people in our actions and our thinking. So what we're going to do is get into some questions and a little bit of background information and so forth and bring light to some things. This is just the beginning of our journey. Again, this is brought to you by Oxygen. I'm here with my brother Utu, and my administration and, our lovely assistant Natara, and our Gansu, AU Gansu Oxygen program that we're doing. This portion right here is specifically pertaining to health and wellness. And what we'll go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and yield the floor to the sister Jaha, and I will be asking some questions, and we will just be discussing some details pertaining to a herbal lifestyle, living, and well-being and cultural manner. So, we was talking, last couple of days, sis, and you was telling me about it was a particular word that you had used that I hadn't heard before, and that's why I want to start at. So if you can kind of tell me what that word was and what that means as far as an herb, we can start there.
Greetings. Hi, how are you? I know we were speaking the other day, and we basically were speaking just more or less about, the homeopathic lifestyle, I guess, living and participating in herbal medicine and remedies. So I'm not quite sure which word it is that you're referring to because we were on the phone for quite some time and we discussed many things. So if you
it was something that started, I think, with a T. It was like you said.
Oh, tincture, yes, tinctures. Tinctures are.
Can you spell that? Can you spell that first?
Absolutely. Okay. Tincture is spelled TINCTURE.
Thank you.
Yeah, tinctures are more or less a form of drawing out the quote-unquote, if you will, poison from a herbal plant, from a herb. Most of the times the medicinal attributes in the herb need to be extracted, and tincturing is one way to do it. It takes a little while. It takes about 6 weeks of soaking the herb in a menstruum, like 100 proof alcohol or something like that. But it is kind of the best way to extract the herb. Some people extract it in vinegar. Some people can extract it, and people take infusions where they extract the herb in water. but a tincture is kind of more of a more potent, if you will. You'll get more of the attributes of the herb through a tincture. Infusions are good as well. Infusions are done by boiling water and then, like, say, putting your herb in a mason jar, capping it, and letting that sit, for some hours or even overnight, and then straining and, drinking the herb. However, tinctures is my method of choice. I tincture pretty much every herb that I can come across that's, able to be tinctured. And they last long. The shelf life is, you can keep a tincture for years, and it still will have the medicinal purposes, the medicinal attributes. So, but yes, tinctures are very high on my on my list of use.
So you just said that you can tincture something for years, which means like after you do it, the potency remains the same?
From my experience, yes. I actually have mason jars full of herbs that are tincturing that I've had sitting for years. And, like, I won't necessarily decant them and strain them. Sometimes I'll just, take a dropper and just use it straight from the mason jar if I'm not really just trying to jar something up and utilize it on a daily basis. But yes, I found that the potency is still there and it still works. I mean, of course, with anything that sits, you feel like it's going to lose its potency. But people actually do double tinctures, whereas they'll tincture something for 6 weeks, they'll strain that liquid, they'll add fresh herbs and re-tincture, use that same liquid to re-tincture the fresh herb, making like a double tincture. So, I found that, I haven't had any issues with using tinctures that have been sitting for quite some time.
Okay, wow. Well, I appreciate that. That's, like I said, I don't know, Utu or Natara, are you all familiar with that?
No, I've heard of tinctures before, but not that particular. But yeah, I've heard of tinctures, how to extract it. Actually, the brother Ason and I was studying. Well, not studying. We were looking into that. He was more studying it than I was. We're looking into that probably a couple of years ago, back in about 2011 or 12. And we're talking about the Samurai 2 project. But yeah, I know about tinctures and things of that nature. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically.
They're a little easier. They're a little easier to take.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask this: as far as I'm gonna go ahead. I wanted to get that out because that was one of the first things. That was the last thing that was on my mind. But so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna let you, if you can give us, Jaha, a little bio on, how you started and, like a bio, a little overall thing about, this being in your way of life. We'll love to hear for you to share that portion with us.
Absolutely. First and foremost, I consider myself a self-proclaimed herbalist because this was something that I more or less embarked on just for my family. First and foremost, I was, very against immunizations and things like that for my children. At the same time, I was also, taking on a natural, if you will, leaving the perms and things like that alone. So this was over about 15 years ago when I started looking into better ways and more natural ways to create the products that my family needed. One of the first things I had started off with was toothpaste, making my own toothpaste, but when the immunizations came about, when I had my first son, which is my third of 4 children that I have, I was really, starting to read about it, and I was actually sitting in the doctor's office and he had just been born. I was taking him in for his first round of shots. And I sat there and I was reading this article in a magazine, that was sitting next to me. And this article couldn't be any more, it was only probably on the page that it was on, a one-by-one article. And it was on the rotavirus. And it was talking about how this rotavirus immunization it had killed some children. Some children had died because of this shot. And I had at that time asked my child's physician, I said, and that was one of the shots that he was slated to receive. And I said, is this something that I have to do, and she was like, absolutely not. She said, you can opt out to, anything that you want, she said, and, actually she's an African doctor, so she said, just, if you choose not to immunize your children, just bring them in every year so that I could see that they're progressing well and going along. And that was all she had to say to me. After that, it was more or less my, I started trying to research and study things that I can do to counteract anything that would occur in my children. So I started studying herbs. I started looking into different herbs that would, for the basic things, the common cold, that would just, help with that. So through studying the herbs, I came across tinctures as a way of extracting the herbs. So, and that's basically where it started. I mean, it's like once you start studying different herbs and their properties and the things that they, help, within, everyday function and everyday, ailments, it's almost addictive. So, and, that's pretty much how I started. And you just go, kind of, you get hooked on the different things and, you start ordering the herbs and making the tinctures, and now I pretty much have an apothecary in my kitchen.
So tell me, what was the first ones that you got yourself familiar with? Okay, so how did you, when you started doing that, what was the first ones you got yourself familiar with, and how did it agree with you or show you a positive effect or effect?
Absolutely. Stinging nettle. Nettle leaves was probably the first herb that I introduced myself to, because at that time I was my son was young and I was still breastfeeding. So,
say that again. What type of?
I said nettle. Oh, stinging nettle. Nettle. And nettle, the reason why I got familiar with that was because nettle is very good for women who are lactating and breastfeeding. It really is high in iron. It's very high in iron. And at the time, I was one of those mothers who didn't want to take the iron pills. I didn't want to take anything that the doctor wanted me to take while I was pregnant. So I was basically on the verge of anemia, and my iron was very low. So I did need something to, to help with my iron intake. So nettle was very big. To this day, I still use nettle. I cook with nettle. Nettle is like just a staple in my kitchen as far as, people, grind their herbs up and they use oregano, basil, and thyme. I use all of that, and I also use nettle. But I also drink it as an infusion, and that's how I first introduced myself with it, was drinking it as an infusion, which, as I said previously, is basically drawing the medicinal attributes via boiling water, so putting it in a mason jar, sealing it, and letting it sit and kind of just draw everything out overnight. And then I was drinking that on a daily basis, and it helped. It really helped with my iron intake, and overall, it's just a really good herb to use. So stinging nettle was the basically first one first herb I familiarized myself with.
Okay, so the nettles dealt with helping you out with the iron.
It did. It
really okay. Did. Okay. And then when you moved from there, I mean, what was after that, and how did you?
After that, what I have found myself, if you will, I kind of go off on a little sidebar here. Our people in general are really inundated and sometimes unbeknownst to them with yeast. Yeast is a very huge problem in the health world today and people's health overall. And because a lot of us don't know that we have a yeast problem. I mean, women will know, if they have for the most part, a vaginal yeast infection that's reoccurring or things like that. But other than that, we really don't know. We see that, we have, some people have like patches, white patches, and they just think it's a dry spot, and, and they try to put some oil on it or whatever, and then they just keep it moving. But a lot of times it's actually a yeast overgrowth in our bodies. And what I have found is, and it was the dead of winter, it was in the dead of winter, and I was waking up at night in a cold sweat. I mean, literally like just drenched to where I would have to get up and I would have to change the T-shirt that I was sleeping in. My back would be soaked and my back would be itching very bad. So I knew something was wrong because it was the dead of winter, and I'm like, I shouldn't be sweating like this. So I started researching, just cold sweats and things like that. There were a lot of different, supposed reasons why this was occurring, but one that stuck out the most for me was yeast. And it was because it was like, wow, that makes sense. At the time I was going through that every month type thing that, some women go through at that time of the month. And that stuck out for me. And so when I started researching the herbs that help with yeast, there's a root, and it's actually a bark. It's called Pau d'Arco. And I'll spell that for you. It's P-A-U, and it's space D''ARCO, and it's called Pau d'Arco. And this bark, if you will, has saved my life in general, because it's another one that I use, faithfully as far as taking it as a tincture. When I started, utilizing this bark, it took all the yeast out of my body. I haven't had a monthly infection for over 15 years. So and also my back cleared up. Yes, the patches that were on my back, like I said, I would see the dry patches and, they would itch. But when you sweat, when the sweat would hit them, they would come alive almost. Like it was like just an itching. It was just crazy. And so,
okay. Hold on. I want you to, because I know when people play this back, they're going to spell that one more time. Say it a little slower and spell it one more time.
It's a bark, and it's called Pau d'Arco, and it's spelled P-A-U, capital D''ARCO.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah. So, basically, like I said, I had this yeast overgrowth in my body that was just driving me crazy. And this root, this bark, has actually, just eliminated it from my body. One way to tell if, you have a yeast overgrowth in your body, and it's very simple. Most people, when we wake up in the morning, we go in the bathroom and we go to brush our teeth. Well, prior to brushing your teeth, what you can do is you can take a glass and fill it up with some water. Don't rinse your mouth, don't brush your teeth, don't drink anything. And what you want to do is basically, if you will, you want to spit in this glass of water. And you want to watch it, because what should happen is our saliva should dissipate, pretty much on top of water. However, when you have an overgrowth of yeast, what happens is you'll start seeing it'll become stringy, if you will, and you'll start seeing it, kind of just elongate in the water. And there's different levels of that. Some it'll be really thick, or sometimes it's thin, and you may see some strings or however, but, that can kind of let you know the level of, yeast that's in your body. And I did this. I did this for quite some time, just as I, prior to starting using the Pau d'Arco, and as I used it. And it worked. Like I said, you see the difference. You really see the difference, and that's just one simple test that you can, do to see, if you really have a yeast overgrowth in your body. And I will say, once these things start coming out of your body, when you utilize these herbs, I mean, almost with everything, some people will say, oh, it's not working because it's getting worse. Well, that's kind of how things, come out of our system. Everything within comes out. So as it started, as the yeast started coming out of my body, I felt like it was getting a little worse because I was going crazy. But, once you get through that phase, you know what I'm saying, and it starts, reducing, then you notice the difference. You really do. And I did. Okay. I noticed the difference even in just my energy, having a little more energy. I wasn't craving, and that's another thing. I was craving sweets like crazy. And I love to cook, and I love to bake. I mean, and I was in the kitchen baking cakes and cookies all the time. So I was really craving the sugar, yeast feeds on sugar. So, I was really, hurting myself, by doing that. Yeah.
So basically, you was like a food crackhead. Like you was,
yes.
Like you was going through. So you pretty much saying it's like majority of people not knowing the significance of yeast when they would take this product. You know what I'm saying? It will be pulling it out of their system, and they will eventually go through these withdrawals before they actually get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you don't even know that you're not the best that you can be or who you are until you actually probably experience something like this. And I guess this is one form of detox that you're speaking
Absolutely.
of.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'll give you another symptom of it as well. A lot of times people, like if you look in your hair, some people have dry patches. You know what I mean? Like, and for me, I think I had a couple like at the front of my hair. You know what I mean? And I you would just think like, again, oh, I have a dry patch, throw some shea butter or some coconut oil on it or whatever and keep it going. However, that was still yeast. People don't realize that is also a form of yeast. Dry patches in your hair, dry patches on your skin, you know what I mean, that you kind of just overlook as just being a dry patch. We really need to start looking at, things as not being normal. This is not the normal state of our body. You know what I mean? But we get so, we get so numb to it that, we just continue to go on and just try to, basically put a Band-Aid on it. However, the key is we need to start looking within our body. You know what I mean? We have to get healthy inside before we can do anything on the outside. You can put all the shea butter, all the coconut oil, all the whatever you want on the outside of your body, but if you're not healthy within, then it's only a temporary fix, on the outside. So I think, dealing with herbs for me has allowed me to, cleanse my body, to help me stay in a state that, I feel is, better for me on the inside, to where, my skin, feels better, it looks better, you know what I'm saying, because of the things that I feel that I incorporate into my diet and the herbal tinctures that I take on a daily basis.
Got you. Yeah, that's yeah, that's powerful. So we definitely appreciate that. Utu or Sister Natar, do you have any questions or any add-on for her before we continue?
I do. I will let Natar ask her question first if she has one.
No question.
Thank you. Tua, my question, I don't know if you know specifically how it relates to men's health. What is the most I guess the point of attack for yeast in men that's most detrimental? Like
you mean physically on a man, or you mean as a remedy?
Yeah. Like what would yeast? What does yeast attack in men the most? Like it may attack the reproductive system in females or whatever. I was wondering what it may be for males.
For men, I would say it would just still be like a skin type thing overall. You know what I mean? Your skin. Your scalp, anywhere on your body, would be attacked. But because we have yeast inside as well, I mean, it for women, it's prevalent, more or less in our, vaginal area, because that's, where it is. But for men, I think it's just inside too. Even though it's our vaginal area, it's still on the inside. So that's just kind of where it manifests itself for women. But for men, I would say, it can be on the inside of your body as well. I mean, anywhere. A lot of times we have, and this Paudarco is also a parasitic for parasites. It also, it expels parasites out of our body, which are huge. Again, a lot of us are walking around and we don't even know that we have parasites within our body. So I think it's just, to answer your question, the inside, anywhere on the inside. I mean, yeast is a huge factor with people who have cancer, or anyone who's taking like large doses of antibiotics. A lot of times those antibiotics cause a yeast overgrowth. My cousin, she is battling cancer now, and one of the effects that she has had from her medicine has been yeast overgrowth. So, and I introduced her to Paudarco, and she has had a huge reduction in the yeast in her body, which has helped her continue with her recovery. So.
All right. Thank you. Tawad, I appreciate that. I have Tarif muted right now because he had some noise going on in the background. I'm about to unmute him, though, see if he has another question.
However, but yeah, for me, like, this is one of the herbs that I just love to use, and I keep calling it an herb, and it's actually a bark. And when you see it, you'll know it is a bark from the inner, bark of a tree. So it's a tree that's usually indigenous to Brazil, and it's just wonder. It just does wonders. I can't say enough.
All right. Okay.
Okay. All right, I appreciate that. Sounds like he's on another call real quick.
Okay.
All right, here he comes.
All right, yeah, I'm back. Just had to go do something real quick. But now, since can y'all hear me?
Sure.
Yes, I can hear you.
You there, Tarif?
I think it's so loud.
Yeah, well, it shows he's still in the call. So. Got somebody coming in from Illinois.
Are you still there, sis?
I'm here.
Okay. Utu, you can't hear me?
Sure, I hear you.
Okay.
We have a new caller coming in from Illinois. Oh, you want to introduce yourself?
He says.
Oh, me? Yes, I'm here.
No, he said somebody else was on the line from Illinois.
Yeah. That's me.
Oh, me. Oh, okay. All right, peace. Well, I wish you was on the call. She actually, I'm glad you got on, because she was going through some information about yeast just a moment ago, and since you called in, I'm gonna ask her to go in on some of the things that might deal with as far as eczema is concerned, because I know that was one of our conversations too.
Yeah, as far as eczema, I haven't had any direct experience with eczema, but again, it's another skin, eruption, if you will. I know that eczema, like we were speaking, I believe we were talking about neem oil and eczema. And there's also, I did give my son-in-law, he did have a bout of eczema, and I gave him an oil. This isn't necessarily a herb, but I deal with the oils as well. Whatever oils are, good for certain, topical remedies, and it's called tamanu oil. And when he started using that, it was something that, he said relieved it, and then it started really clearing it up. And so he utilizes that. He went and bought the oil, and now he doesn't have any eczema. He didn't have a severe case, if you will, where it was, really all over his body. But he did have it in, the folds, a couple folds of his hands, and the folds of his elbow, where his arm folds in between the creases. So, he used the tamanu oil, which is spelled Tamanu oil. And it is a very good oil for a lot of, skin eruptions and things like that. Scars, it clears up scars. It's really good. It's a really strong oil. The scent is very strong, but it works. It really does.
Okay, so tell me. So now you mentioned something. What is your experience or relationship between oils and herbs? Like, how do you balance those, or what is your percentage of using those, or how do you use them in conjunction with each other?
Well, that's we get into another topic, I guess, a subject. I like with shea butters, I kind of, mix my own shea butter scents and things like that. So I utilize essential oils as opposed to fragrance oils. Those are two totally different types of oils. Essential oils are, a lot more, if you will, condensed, and they're not just, you can't get any scent in an essential oil. Essential oil is pulled and derived directly from plants or whatever herb it is that you're dealing with. Fragrance oils, you can kind of concoct a fragrance from anything. You can make a fragrance out of anything. If you wanted dirty sneakers fragrance, you can do that, but not with an essential oil because it has to be derived from an actual plant. So I utilize essential oils. When I mix my shea butters and scents like that, I'm about to start getting into making my own cold-pressed hard bar soap, so I'll be dealing with them a lot more in that aspect. And then just regular, topical oils and things like that, like the tamanu oil, which is not an essential oil, but it is an oil that I use for medicinal purposes. So. But the essential oils are huge because they are medicinal, and a lot of people use them in aromatherapy and things like that. But I more or less utilize them within, mixing shea butters and things. So.
Okay. No, well, let me ask you. Going back to the herbal science. Is there any particular? Okay, so now we're gonna deal with. Do you have a herbal solution that you think that people could use, that that you might use on a normal basis, out of the pictures or the things that you were showing me that you have in your cabinet or so forth? Now you, again, being a herbalist, you seeing these things every day. And, you have these different things, but is it something that you want to make people aware of that you have that will benefit them?
More or less. I mean, like I said, the way I take my tinctures and I deal with my herbs, for the most part, I use herbs as teas. Like I drink, like a green tea, or I'll drink nettle tea, for the most part every day. I think what we need to know, I think what is important to know as people is we need to be in a proactive, mind state about our health as opposed to reactive. So the things that I do and the herbs and tinctures that I take are, for me, a proactive way of staying healthy, to cut it off at the pass. When my children come to me, I always tell my children, don't wait until your nose is running or you're already down and out before you say, hey, Mom, I'm feeling this way. So as soon as you feel that tickle in your throat, as soon as you feel that, whatever it is, let me know so that I can start injecting those tinctures that'll cut it off at the pass. My children, they don't get sick often. I don't really do Western medicine. I don't do doctors. You know what I mean? So it's imperative that they let me know ahead of time so that I can kind of, hit it off at the pass. So, I don't take tinctures every single day. What I do is I take them in spurts. You know what I'm saying? I may take the tinctures that I take for 2 weeks straight, and then I'll stop for a week. You know what I'm saying? You give your body a break and you give it a rest. But then I'll resume taking my tinctures again on a daily basis. And, it's just certain tinctures that I do. The tinctures that I take are more or less just for everyday, germs, cough, cold, and flu. You know what I mean? So I take, like, if you will, a concoction of tinctures, you know what I mean? Because tinctures, it doesn't take a lot of tincture. When you talk about tinctures, you're talking like a dropper full of medicine. You know what I mean? So with these dropper fulls, I usually take 3 or 4 different tinctures at one time with a little bit of water. So some of the ones that stick out for me that I take every day are the Paudarco. I take ginger root, I take yarrow, and I take burdock root. And those are pretty much the 4 tinctures that I take every single day, you know what I mean, to try to just to stay healthy overall. And like I said, but mostly all of those are good for, any type of flu, germs, cough, cold, However, burdock root is one that is like a blood purifier. So you always want to, add something in there to kind of cleanse your blood as well. But, yeah, I mean, Paudarco is really big. Like I said, if I had to choose one, that would be it. That would be the one because of the way that it deals with yeast and because yeast is so big and destroying our health today.
What was that one that you just mentioned?
Paudarco or the burdock root.
Oh, okay. No, the last one you said it was just Sam.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now you had mentioned to me in a conversation in one of your relationships as far as someone coming home with a hurt back and you have made something to get I don't know if it was the neem or if it was something else for muscle relaxation because they worked in hard labor.
Mhm. Yeah. That was my husband, my ex-husband. Used to work in, like you said, he was a laborer, and he used to run a jackhammer when he first started off. And anyone that knows anything about jackhammer knows it can shake your whole body up. You know what I mean? It basically, can cause a slip disc in your back because of all that vibration. Yeah, he basically came home and was really unable to bend over to do anything, couldn't even unlace his shoes this one particular day. And so what I did, there's a remedy that I had read about. It was chickweed. Chickweed is a herb. Chickweed is, it's like a ragweed. So, some of these things you have to do the knowledge on because if people are allergic to certain things, and being that chickweed is like a ragweed, anyone that's allergic to, ragweed would want to stay away from, certain herbs like that. But basically, the concoction was chickweed and apple cider vinegar. And I basically boiled it down and kind of, just made a poultice for his back. And I boiled the apple cider vinegar with the chickweed and kind of put it over the lower portion of his back where he was having the pain and covered that with a cotton cloth, a towel. And he had to lay there, basically immobile for an hour or 2 or what have you. But at the end of that time, he was up and he was moving and he was mobile. And, prior to that, I would say he was not a believer of my venture into herbal medicine. However, when he was able to move after that, he's been a believer ever since. So it was something that actually worked, and it was something that I didn't know whether it was going to work or not. But he came home, he was in pain, and so I got into my information and started reading and studying, and that was one thing that I said, okay, I can try this because I do have all these ingredients, and it worked. So that was something that we were both surprised about, but it made him a believer afterwards.
Okay. Was there anything else that similar to that situation that you had in an experience with anybody to where you?
Yes, absolutely. I worked when I was working in corporate America. There was a woman. She was an older woman, and the floor that I worked on was kind of open. People's cubicles were low, so kind of the noise factor, if you will, was high. And if someone coughed or sneezed, you can hear it from one end to the other. Well, she had this cough, and it was excruciating to me, so I know it had to be to her. But when people heard this cough, you would automatically think she was like a smoker of 30-plus years. That's how bad this cough sounded. And so one day I did ask her. I said, Miss Karen, do you smoke? And she said no. She said, I have asthma, and she said, that's how it manifests. She gets this really really bad coughing fit. And so I told her, I said, well, I have a remedy, if you're willing to try it, you can try it. I didn't guarantee her that it would work, but I know I had experience with apple cider vinegar, just for, colds and things that, my sons were going through. So I asked her, I said if she was willing to try it, I would give her all the ingredients. So I went and bought her a bottle of raw apple cider vinegar with the mother, which is unfiltered, some organic raw honey, and asked her to make the concoction of like a tea. So basically I had her take 4 ounces of water or, a tablespoon of the apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of raw lemon juice. You can use the raw lemon juice and heat that like a tea and drink it. And she started doing that. And she said, after a while, I had moved out of the department to another department, but I had saw her, some months later. And I asked her how she was doing and everything, and she just kept thanking me. She said, that she had not used her inhaler since she started drinking that concoction. She used to have an inhaler that she would have to use when she would, have her attacks. And she said ever since she started drinking that concoction on a consistent basis, she hasn't had to use her inhaler. So I was really, happy to hear that because, it always feels good when you help someone or you try to help someone and it actually works for them. So, that was one experience that I, was really proud of.
Okay. Now tell me again, what state was it that you was in before you moved to South Carolina?
Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Misha, did you have any questions for her? I know you got on kind of late. I just wanted to give her a chance if you had any questions. I don't know if you're still there.
Sorry.
She might not.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm not sure what did I miss earlier.
Yeah, I have it recorded, but did you have any particular, questions from what you heard or anything pertaining with health that you might want to ask?
I think that is Tamanu oil. I want to make sure I spelled it right. That's T as in Tom, A, M as in Mary, A, N as in Nancy, U.
Yes, that's exactly right. Mhm.
Do you know if that's like is that from the continent of Africa or?
Actually, the oil that I get, the origin is Vietnam.
Vietnam.
But I'm not sure. Yeah, Vietnam. I'm not sure what other places it can be derived from. But the where I get my oils and things like that, it originates from Vietnam.
Okay, as is burdock root, right?
Burdock root?
That's
burdock.
Asian.
Actually, burdock. Let me tell you, burdock grows. If you remember, I don't know, I might be telling my age, but as children, do you remember the sticker bushes, the little sticky bushes?
Oh yeah.
Those little things, those prickly things that would stick on you if you walked past them, and they hurt. You couldn't get them off. That is actually burdock root. The burdock actually grows all over the place, and the root is like if trying to pull that root out of the ground is like you have to be
it's impossible.
serious
Yeah.
about getting so but that's actually burdock root. So burdock root actually grows all over the place, so I'm not quite sure where the specific origin is, but yeah, those, I mean, you'd be surprised some of these plants that we play with all the time as children that we would just pull out of the ground, and just like people weed their gardens, the dandelion root. They throw dandelions out like it was nothing, and here dandelions are something that is really healthy, for us to eat. You know what I mean? Even eat the leaves, the roots. It's good for our skin, all of that. So what some people see as a troublesome or bothersome weed is actually something really, beautiful in the herb world.
Yeah, my grandmother used to put that in something called poke salad.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
see, I was
Yeah.
just about to say, I have 4 edible things that I've identified in my backyard this year, and one of those is poke salad, the other is the dandelion, wild onions, and there's another one that looks something like dandelion, but it's not dandelion. Like the leaves are the same. So yeah, we definitely we living among our medicine.
Absolutely.
So I think that was
Just to answer your question, the tamanu oil, that's how you spell it, and it's very good for just like any type of skin eruptions. You know what I'm saying? It's something that's really good for damaged skin. It's good for stretch marks, any type of scarring, rashes, things like that is something that you would want to use this oil on. I mean, I've had, you've gotten a cut, or something, or a burn on my hand, and I've used tamanu oil, and it keeps it actually, not only does it heal it, but it keeps it from scarring. You know what I mean? So it does lighten up scars. I'm sorry?
You mentioned the essential oils.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a burn. I put the lavender on there, and like after like a few minutes, I don't ever feel that burn again.
Lavender oil. I love lavender oil. Actually, people run around. They call me the lavender lady because that's the main scent that I use for my shea butters. I love lavender. I even love just smelling the buds. The fresh buds. But only thing with essential oils is some of them you have to be careful with because they're so concentrated. You want to dilute them with just like a carrier oil. So say if you have some, grapeseed oil or olive oil or whatever, you might want to put a couple drops in a oil to actually rub. Some of them you can use directly on your skin, but then there are others that you should definitely dilute with a carrier oil because they're so concentrated and they're strong. I mean, there are essential oils made out of cayenne. You can make, so something like that would be seriously, irritated to your skin if you used it directly. But another one that comes to mind is like thyme oil, the olive, just a olive essential oil. It's very, very strong. One drop is like, is really serious. So, but that's the only caution with the essential oils is because they're so concentrated, some of them need to be diluted. But I agree, the lavender oil works on burns. I mean, it's really good just for calming yourself, for soothing and, just calming down. You could put essential oils in like foot baths, to relax and put them in your bath water. It helps with the aromatherapy aspect as well. So, I agree with the lavender. It's wonderful.
And can you suggest herbs for kidney disease? Matter of fact, you don't even have to answer that because I've gotten so much help on that anyway. But bedwetting.
Bedwetting.
Yeah.
One thing I think, I just recently came across some information on that. And I want to say, not for specific, I haven't had any specific interactions with that, but I believe mugwort, I think, was something that they used to use for bedwetting. And I actually just started introducing myself to that herb just for cleansing the area, like another pure air purifier like sage. So I just actually started studying mugwort, but I do think that I recall that for bedwetting. So, but yeah, I can definitely get back to you on that one because I'm not familiar specific with any other herbs that would help with that. But
and how would I spell the first word?
Mugwort, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mugwort.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, and I guess the last part that we can get into is the food, which I know that everybody loves to talk about. You know what I'm saying? So I know what you're saying that, the main thing that you had emphasized to me about the vegan diet that you was in is that you made multiple dishes and so forth in that manner. So, I know that you said that was something that you wanted to let people know that could be made available to them. Can you want to go in on anything unique, any of your dishes, things that people wouldn't know that they can know, anything special as far as with, you could start out about your history of eating vegan and move on into your, recipes or what you eat on a daily basis.
I'm very protective of my recipes, Therese. So no.
Okay, so right. I mean, you can hint around
no,
them.
I'm just kidding.
Right.
But no, seriously, I'm one of those. My children don't even get my recipes until I'm gone. So,
Gotcha.
But no, I've only been vegan for actually a year this past June. Prior to that, I was vegetarian for 6 years. But yeah, ever since I've went vegan, I have noticed, and for those that aren't familiar, the difference between being vegetarian and vegan is basically when you're vegan, you're cutting out all dairy, all, cheese, no milk, no cheese, anything that has to do with, any type of animal, no fish. And so I made that transition, over a year ago, and I'm okay with it. I hear a lot of people, saying, they couldn't handle, they tried it and they couldn't handle the vegan, lifestyle. But I'm okay with it because I love to cook, so I'm always, looking for different recipes, and I'm always trying to find, new ways to incorporate vegan food into my diet. However, it is a big change, but I think it should be done in steps. Over 20 years ago, I stopped eating beef. My two younger sons, because they're under 20, have never had a hamburger, if you will. So I started there with, the beef over 20 years ago. Then it transitioned into, of course, no pork and things like that. So it was a process for me going from, just eliminating certain things out of my diet. Once I went vegetarian, I think that's where I lost my family after that. Well, when I went vegan, I lost my family. But they, for the most part, they retain a vegetarian lifestyle. But when I went vegan, I lost them. So I pretty much am the only vegan in my family. But I like, there are certain dishes that I like. I don't get into soy. I'm not a soy-eating vegan. Soy is horrible for us in our bodies, but a lot of people turn to soy as that meat alternative, to eating, something of, I guess, substance, if you will. But I don't do the soy. So I kind of stay away from that. But for the most part, I stay with my vegetables and, my beans. I get my protein from a lot of the beans that I eat. I eat black beans. I eat, chickpeas. I eat lentils, lots of lentils. I love lentils. But yeah, I've even reduced my intake of pasta and rice, if you will, because of the, the starchiness and things like that. I still love rice, but I don't eat too much pasta anymore. And I'm still a fiend for baked potatoes. So, I can't make the transition, eat a sweet potato, eat a baked sweet potato. It is just totally not the same. So I won't say I'm a perfect guru, if you will, on the vegan diet, but I have stuck to keeping the dairy and the cheese and eliminating any type of, fish and dead food, if you will, out of my diet. So, there's just no life in dead food, if you will. So I've tried to retain that and just eat accordingly. We just have to, eat what feeds our body, in a nutritious and a healthy manner, and everyone sees what's going on. They just, okayed GMO salmon, for purchase and, for putting out on the market. It's just like they don't care about what this food is doing to our bodies. So we have to take charge of our own health, and start eating and living accordingly.
All right, so what are some of the examples of, as far as the meals and so forth that you ain't got to tell me the recipes but you got to let us know, like, all right, like you told me that, my friend came in and he ate good. So my whole thing is, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Like,
Well, I'm like, okay, I make, for say in the morning, I make my own pancakes from scratch with vegan pancakes. I don't use any eggs. I don't use any regular milk. I use almond milk. So I can make vegan pancakes. I make pancakes and I make grits. Like I said, I still love potatoes, so I eat home fries. You know what I mean? Things like that. It's like I still eat. You know what I mean? Most people think vegan is like, what are you eating? You're starving. No, I'm not. Actually, I'm not. I eat a lot of kale, so if I make a meal, then, it might consist of all side dishes to someone. So I'm eating, sauteed kale and onions. I'm eating, vegan macaroni and cheese, which is not even utilizing any of the so-called fake cheese on the market, if you will. It's like the cheese for me is a nut-based concoction that creates the cheesiness, of the macaroni and cheese. No, is it your mom's macaroni and cheese? Absolutely not. But it is a very good and I will say flavorful substitute. So I eat, vegan macaroni and cheese. I eat, like I said, a lot of lentils, any type of soup. Vegetable soup, potato soup. What else? I make my own salsa. I always keep a jar of salsa on hand because, that's always a good side dish or to add to anything. I make wraps. I make my own falafel. You know what I mean? I use falafel. Now, that's when we talk about a meat substitute. Falafel is a pretty good substitute if you're not always frying it. It gets unhealthy when it's just always fried. You can oven. You can cook falafel in the oven and still get a crispy coating to it that, that's what everyone seems to like about falafel. So, I just get in, my cookbooks. I get online. I research certain things, and I try different things. But for me, it makes it easy because I love to cook. A lot of people don't have, the love for it, and they don't, create the time to do it, So, but yeah, a lot of salads, and for me a salad is, not just lettuce, onions, and tomatoes. I got, I put apples, I put, nuts, I put, a whole plethora of things on a salad that would, help it sustain me for a while. So
how often do you, if somebody's eating, how often do you eat a day because you're eating different? You know what I'm saying? How often would you be cooking or whatever? Like if you're doing this for your family or doing this, you're telling people to eat this way, how often would How often do you prepare food and dishes?
Well, for me, I'm a big breakfast person. For me, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If I had to choose to eat one meal a day, which is actually what I try to do, unless I'm cooking for my children or unless I'm cooking for someone else or what have you. But I think that we need to start getting into the mindset of, I know some of the previous scholars and people have said, we need to train our mind to eat when we have to eat, not because we see something we want, oh man, I want that, or oh man, I can go for this or go for, what I'm saying? We need to get our bodies in the mode of eating when it's necessary to eat and not eating because we just want food in our system. So for me, I don't eat 3, 4, 5 times a day. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I may, if I eat twice a day, then that's good for me. You know what I mean? That's what I do. But without a doubt, I eat breakfast. You know what I mean? I try to eat a big breakfast. So that's the most important meal of the day for me. Otherwise, throughout the day, I may, cut up some fruit. I may be eating fruit, or like I said, I may make a batch of hummus and some, tortilla chips or pita chips or something like that. So just snacks like that. But I try to continue to make them healthy snacks. You know what I mean? Eat some salsa and chips, hummus and chips, something. So. But if I am cooking for someone, if I have house guests, I will make sure that they eat at least 3 meals a day. So, because that may be what they're used to doing. So, yep.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty much it for me. And, I don't know if anybody else has any final questions or final comments. But the floor is open for any final statements, if needs to be made. Utu, Natar, Misha. I don't know if you all can still hear me or not.
Yeah, this is Latara. I'm driving though, so I had the phone on mute. But I just like to thank her though. Thank you for the information. It's definitely useful, helpful.
Sure, I know.
Oh, no, not a problem. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I've just been kind of listening and monitoring what's been going on.
Okay. You good, Mish?
Yes, I am, and thank you also for your information.
Sure,
oh, you're welcome. Absolutely.
All right. Sis, is there anything any final thing that you think that we might not have had discussed previously, as far as anything dealing with either muscles, tissues, cells, anything as far as diet is concerned that would deal with things? Are there any like you said, as far as lotions, anything else that that's on the top of your head right now that you want to think of, or are you good?
No, I'm good. I appreciate the opportunity, Therese, and giving me this platform just to share with everyone just things that I do on a daily basis. I mean, like I said, it's not a lot of science to it. You know what I mean? For me, it's just something necessary. You know what I mean? It's a lifestyle that's necessary for me and my family. In order to just be healthy and to survive this toxic world, because everything is going on. We are just walking around and we are so toxic, and we have to start cleansing our bodies from inside out. So I think with nutrition and diet, diet, nutrition, and supplements, as far as herbal supplements, we can do that. You see the push against all of this information. You see that they're trying to shut it down. They're trying to make it hard to do. They're trying to enact laws that says, if you're a herbalist, you're practicing medicine without a license. So that says a lot. That says a lot. That says that we're doing something right for ourselves if it's something that, the powers that be are trying to shut down. So we need to, do more studying. We need to, start researching more about the things that ail us, and not be afraid to try, a natural remedy or a natural lifestyle. You know what I mean? So I just think, we have to, want it more for ourselves than anything. So, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
Now you had mentioned last thing. What are you making? You know what I'm saying? You said toothpaste. You know what I'm saying? Is there anything else that you're in production of making as far as with with
Like I said, I'm starting to educate myself. I'm about to embark on making soap, my own cold pressed hard bar soap. So I'm still in the process and the works of doing that. I've been making my own toothpaste. I just take a jar and I mix in my own kitchen, baking soda, coconut oil, salt, and peppermint oil, peppermint essential oil. It would, and kind of bind it together with some water and a little bit of natural glycerin, if you will. So, that's just something I make in abundance and put it in a jar and utilize that. You know what I mean? You just dip your toothbrush in and you kind of do it. But other than that, just the shea butters, like I said, I buy shea butter in bulk and I break it down and add my own oils that I feel, are conducive to certain conditions or whatever, or my own essential oils for the fragrance, for the scent. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I try to stay natural as possible, with the deodorants. Like I'm still trying to find a deodorant that isn't aluminum filled or doesn't have all these, horrible ingredients that actually works and lasts. But in the meantime, I'm rubbing limes under my armpits because lime is actually a great deodorant, if you will. It keeps you from smelling. I mean, you may have to reapply it a couple of times a day, but you just cut a lime and rub it under your arm and it works. So, I do things like that. I experiment with myself. I experiment with my family, because they're open to it. So, I'm just kind of do whatever works,
Okay. So, anything that you could help, anything particular just for the recording purposes, if people need your assistance in different areas, can you give what different areas and maybe either an email address at the least for them to be able to contact you from here going out?
Sure. I can be reached. My email address is Jaha, Jaha, 01221 @gmail.com. And, basically, if you have any questions on specific herbs, tinctures, herbal infusions, things like that, anything, you have a specific ailment and want any information regarding what type of herb may be helpful to alleviating that ailment or to, that you can just start taking to basically, get ahead of something, get ahead of an ailment or, email me. If I don't have the specific herb or the specific information, I can definitely do the research and get back to you. So, this is always a work in progress, and it's always more information and more knowledge that we can gain to, continue on with it. It's nothing that just stops. We continue to learn, we continue to educate, and we continue on. So, yep. Again, you can reach me at Jaha, Jaha, 01221 @gmail.com.
Thank you. All right, so we'll go ahead and bring everything to a conclusion today, November the 22nd, Sunday, 2015. That is our update, and we definitely thank Sister Jaha for coming on and letting the family know that she is here, ready to get the work and, help people out if they need the assistance. And also just add on to the family that's in this healthy movement already. So we definitely appreciate everybody. Appreciate you coming on and meeting. And Utu, I guess we are finished for the day, and then we'll be able to start sharing the link with those that might have missed the call from this current point. So again, this is Matarif Unc L, Oxygen NGO 37801, the health branch of AU Gansu, and we out.
I do.
I appreciate it.